Hey everyone, and welcome to the Redmond Middle School Math Club virtual parent night for the 2020-2021 school year. My name is Ed Kaim, and I am the Math Club chair this year. You can reach out to me at mathclubchair@rmsptsa.org or just reply to one of the many mails I'll be sending you throughout the year. I wanted to introduce myself a little bit. For those of you who don't know me, this will be my sixth year as a parent math team coach. I've been coaching my own kids for 6 years, or at least they're coaching their teams, and of course involved with individual competition for a bit longer than that, as I'm sure many of you have done as well. It's really easy to become a parent math team coach, and then it's just as easy to get started with volunteering. At first, I didn't think I was going to be a math team coach, and then from there, I didn't realize how easy it would be to get involved with volunteering to help out with the math club by proctoring, and I've been doing that now for 4 years. And this was my second year as a math club chair. So if you're interested in being part of the leadership of math club, I'll have some information toward the end about how you can do that as well. It's really fun, and I've got a good amount of experience with this, so I can definitely help make sure that your time is put to good use and that it's an efficient use of your volunteer investment. So over the years, we've put together a lot of philosophy into what it takes to building a great math club. And all of that's covered in our welcome video. So this video is intended, this video assumes you've already seen the welcome video or already have a really strong foundation into how we've built the math club and how we focus on helping develop students at every level of experience so that they can come in as fresh sixth graders who have maybe never competed before and then come out after eighth grade feeling like they can tackle high school and college and beyond. Again, see the welcome video for that. If you go to our YouTube channel, which you can get a link to from our webpage, or just you can Google Redmond Middle School Math Club and it'll come right to the top. On that, right front and center is our Math Club overview video. It's about 25 minutes long. It's pretty dense with content. It goes through the philosophy of how we build our coaching plan, how we build the curriculum, and how we really try to help students excel at problem solving and building their math skills under the guise of competition. Obviously, competition is a big part of math in middle school, but it's really more about developing the students and helping them build confidence. And competition is a great way to kind of like sneak in that stuff in the context of a really fun time with math and working with your friends. So we will have a live parent night. Right now we're scheduled for Tuesday, September 22nd from 6 to 7. But there's a possibility the RMS curriculum night might be scheduled that night. So if that happens, we'll just move a week out to September 29th at the same time. It's going to be held in Microsoft Teams, and you can get a link either from our site or from Bear Tracks or from the PTSA site. And it's really going to be a recap of this video. So I don't intend to change the slides or anything else too much. And then, of course, time for Q&A. So if you watch this video, you feel like all your questions were answered, you know exactly what to do and how things are going to run, you don't have to worry about the parent night. If anything comes up in parent night that needs to be clarified, I will follow up with the membership through email or through updating the website just to make sure that everyone has the fresh information. Now, again, we'll start off with the agenda here. We're not going to go over the overview of the math club itself. That's really deeply covered in the welcome video. You'll know everything you need to know about how we run things from there. Instead, we're going to cover some of the differential between the overview video and what's specifically important to this year. And it is a unique year, but we're still going to have our coaching sessions. We're still going to be involved in competitions. We always need volunteers. And then at the end, we'll talk about the next steps so that you can hit the ground running, registering and getting signed up and knowing where all the information is. Because we got a bunch of people that put a lot of work into making a great math club, and it is an incredible asset regardless of the skill level of your student, regardless of whether they want to compete or not. It's really interesting content. It's really easy to digest, and when you get to the highest levels, it's really a really great place for you to stretch. Now, we'll talk about our coaching sessions for this year. Historically, we've always done these in school, or rather after school, at the building, which is obviously not an option as we start this 2020 school year. Instead, we're going to run them through Microsoft Teams, which is hosted through a PTSA account. And so we're going to do that, and all the students who are signed up will be able to access these, and we're going to make it as easy as possible. So They're all familiar with Teams at this point, and to make it a little easier, we're going to have a channel, or rather a team out there in Microsoft Teams, where it'll be the same location every time they go. So even though we will continue to carry our homework, club, and varsity sessions, they're all going to be held at the same location on different days. And this way, you don't have to worry about what channel you need to be in or where you need to track down what you want to see. It'll just be returned to the same place. Once you find it, you just go back there every time. They will again be led by our excellent high school coaches. Our whole team is back this year. We've also added on some new members that are just phenomenal. I'm really excited to see where we take our varsity stuff this year and how we continue to enhance homework and club rooms. Part of this, though, is that even though we're running in Microsoft Teams and it's online, we still will need a Lake Washington School District approved volunteer to proctor the room. That's just something I'll go into more detail later. It's really easy to sign up for this, and all it involves is you need to be in the room, in the Microsoft Teams room, 15 minutes ahead of our start time, and the sessions are all an hour long, so it's really just a 75-minute commitment. And you just really just need to be there. We don't anticipate anything you have to do. You won't have to come up with curriculum. You don't have to help with math. You just got to be there, and it should be easy enough. And finally, as part of the coaching sessions, it's important that you include the S-email of your student when registering. So that's the Lake Washington School District one. So on the registration page, when you get here, and this is really the only page for registration, when you add it to your cart, just make sure that when you put in the student's Lake Washington School District email, it's like S dash and then their usually combination of first and last name at lwsd.org. We need that so we can track who the students are, because we do need to know the students in the room. This way we can be very sure of everyone who's in the room is either a student or a proctor or a coach. And like I said, that's an important part of the process of us granting access to things. Now, the schedule this year, we're going to start the week of October 12th for our coaching sessions. The homework room is going to be Mondays at 3 to 4, club room will be Wednesday at 3 to 4, and varsity is going to be Friday at 3 to 4. And part of the reason we're doing them on different days is to make it easy for people to show up and know that they're in the same place every time. But also, because it's virtual, we don't have the room restrictions, so we're going to open up all the rooms to all the students. In the past, we've had qualification policy because in school we can only limit a certain number of students per physical room. So if we do return to school and have in-school coaching, we will have to return to the qualification policy, but we don't worry about that for the time being. It's just if you want to go to homework on Monday and then club on Wednesday and then varsity on Friday, that would be fantastic. We would appreciate that. Now, what's really cool is after you register this year, we get your information, and then within a day or two, we'll get you added to the new Office 365 group that's hosted by the for the PTSA. So you'll be put into our Math Club team, and then when you're added to the Math Club team, it'll be the parent email associated with the PTSA account that signs up, and then the S-email of their student will get access to our portal page. And we'll send out a link to this. It's the rmsptsa.sharepoint.com/site/mathclub. Easy enough. So you just visit that and you'll be able to get access to whatever content we put up. For the time being, the main thing we know we're going to have up there is documents for our competition and teams spreadsheet and our volunteering spreadsheet. I'll go through the competition and team ones later on, but the volunteer one I want to bring up because this one is super easy. It's just a list of the dates of our coaching sessions. You'd put down your name, you'd put down your email and your phone number, just wherever it is, for whatever day you're available to volunteer from that 2:45 to 4 p.m. slot. And then you just show up and you're just in the room. And, if anything happens that concerns you, you raise something. Usually we don't have any problems. There should really be no actual work for you to do in the room, but just sort of make sure that everything stays appropriate. And again, we've got very experienced, really strong coaches. They've been through coaching this for a whole year now, and they're all very capable and engaging coaches. So I think that this is going to be a fantastic experience. Now let's get into some of the details about the sessions this year. The homework session is the main one. For those of you who are returning, you know that we cover a different topic every week. We assign a homework, and we'll have that homework on our website for what's due each homework session. And it's called a stretch exercise. They're taken from the Mathcounts handbooks. And these are awesome because they cover like angles, or they cover ratios, or they cover expected value, or some topic that can help a student go from little experience up to deep experience with a topic that is common among middle school math and competitions. Now, after we cover the stretch, and we cover all the problems in a stretch, because at the homework level, like we don't want people to have to raise their hands and say they didn't understand anything. We just assume that everybody could use the refresher and the understanding from the coaches. So they will cover all 10 problems every week. But we're going to try something a little bit new, which is the remaining time in an hour. So let's say they finish everything in 40 minutes. We're going to take those last 20 minutes and we're going to allocate them to basically to tutoring. We're going to request, or we're going to suggest that any students who are struggling with work in school post a problem that they're struggling with, something they'd like to see one of the coaches go through. And it's a team environment, so anybody who's on the call, it's just a broadcast, so everybody who's there gets to listen in on it. But they'll get that. If you have you had a problem with something in homework or something from school, post the question. If there's a photo or a screenshot that can help understand the question with diagrams or anything, include that in the channel. And then if we get enough demand of those, so I mean, if it turns out that we would need more time to cover all the questions, we may add a dedicated tutoring session on Tuesday or Thursday. This way we would have 1 hour where we'll have a high school coach assigned to the room, or usually we work in pairs, and they'll go through the problems and they'll cover as much as they can to help students out from the math club. And again, this is kind of a pilot program just to see if there's enough demand for a tutoring session, but we want to make sure that we're also helping out a bit with the in-school work besides the out-of-school competition style math. Now, competitions is a big topic this year. Since in our state we don't really have the facilities to meet in person to do competition, it kind of throws a wrench into things. So, first thing is, we usually try to hold 3 exams a year as Redmond Middle School Math Club. We hold a benchmark exam in the beginning of the year, a Mathcounts exam usually around December or so to define our Mathcounts team, and then a final exam towards the end of the year. And we track the results of them for students over time. This way people can see how they progress with our standardized exams. And we also use those as learning tools and opportunities to teach about topics that haven't been covered or things we think need extra focus. We're not going to do that until we return to school. So depending on when we get back, we'll kind of drive how many of those we do if we do them. At the national level, we are going to compete in Mathcounts and AMC8 this year because they're allowing online competition through the Art of Problem Solving platform, which is great. If you haven't been there, you can check out artofproblemsolving.com. It's obviously no spaces. They have a site out there with all kinds of stuff, with great forums and past tests and places where you can really practice your math and things like Alchemist. But they also have a platform where you can run an online competition. And so Mathcounts and AMC8 are both going to use those, and they will be what we leverage in order to participate. Both those competitions, the Mathcounts and the AMC series, those will still be registered and coordinated through the Math Club. So you still, join Math Club, and then we will manage all of that stuff from in there. You don't have to register with them. Just make sure you get into Math Club, and we'll guide you through the process of participating. One of the things you will need to do is you'll need to create a free student account at the Art of Problem Solving site in order to participate. I don't think that should be a problem. I believe that Art of Problem Solving is available from Lake Washington's network, so there shouldn't be anything. And if there is any issues, we will work through with the school to get that resolved. I mean, I'm sure they'll understand how important that is. We don't yet know anything about local competitions like Math is Cool or Knights of Pi or Blaine or other local competitions. We should know more after the new year. I anticipate by the time January comes around, we'll start hearing about how they plan to do those. Math is Cool did run a few online competitions last year during the spring, and they went off pretty well. I was actively involved with the fourth grade competition, and I thought that it ran really nicely. And so I'd like to believe that most or maybe all of these competitions will be run in one form or another. Hopefully they can go back to the traditional model, but if not, then I know they're very dedicated and they put on great competitions. So right now there's no news, but you will hear it from me as soon as I hear anything. And then another important thing is that to participate in competitions after you register, uh, within 48 hours or so, we'll get you access to the portal. The link you might have seen earlier. The way you opt into competitions is using the spreadsheet. So in this spreadsheet here, we've got just one student. At some point, we'll have all our students in there. Right now, it's not even a student; it's me. But those left three columns, those are don't update those. If you need to make any changes to those columns, just contact someone from Math Club, and we'll make the edit for you. That's just name, grade, and parent email. The next category, we've got a few competitions there that are yes or no competitions. Like in Mathcounts or AMCs, you're either competing or you're not. There is a typo there for the AMC 10B, but you can ignore that for now. If you want to compete, just put a yes down next to your student's name under that competition. For AMC or Mathcounts, you can either put no or leave it blank if you don't want to. No helps us a little bit. If you know for sure you're not going to do it, it would help us to put no so we can gauge whether or not we can anticipate more people signing up at the last minute. And then finally, there's some team competitions that we have here just as a placeholder. This is, for example, for Math is Cool. What we do, actually, for any team competition, what we do is we follow the policy of if you have a team, you pick a color that's unique for your grade. So in this case, like me and my three teammates on my seventh grade Math is Cool team, we would all have red as our color there. And we use red in lieu of anything else, or we use colors red, blue. It doesn't matter as long as it's unique for your team for your grade, because the teams are always split up by grade. If you don't have a team yet, but you're looking for a team, put down yes until you find your team. This way, other people can see that you're looking. You can see who else is looking, and parents drive teams. So this way, you can go out there and contact other parents using the email here and find out who wants to put together a team for a given competition. And if you're competing but you don't want to be part of a team, you just want to do the individual stuff, just put individual down, and this way we'll know that that's all you want to do, and we'll register you for that. Now let's talk about Mathcounts. And I apologize in advance. This is going to be a long, potentially confusing discussion, but a lot of stuff changed this year for the circumstances we're operating under, and we're trying to make things as smooth and fair as possible. So you may want to come back and watch through this another time or two to fully understand what our structure is for this year. But all the competition rounds prior to nationals are going to be run through the art of problem solving. They're providing 4 practice competitions, and then there will be a chapter competition that we send our official team to. That leads to a chapter invitational, which is going to be based on chapter performance, and then state based on chapter invitational performance. We need to have our official team of 15. It's 15 this year and not 10 like past years. So we need to officially name our team of 15 before the final practice competition, and then they compete as a team of 15. Now, if you've been around before, you know that our math club is really strong and we have a lot of students that like to participate. We usually have around 100 students who sign up for Mathcounts. And in the past, we've done one internal test and then we pick the top 10, or in this case, it would be 15, to go off and represent our school. But we don't really have a way to do that this year. So what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of those first 3 practice competitions, and we're going to use those to figure out how we can fairly pick our top 15 to send to the final practice competition where we have to have our team set, and then to chapter. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the 3rd practice competition, which is that December 15th date, and the top 15 finishers of that will represent our school in the final practice and then the chapter round. But that also, now the question is, how do we decide who goes to the 3rd practice competition? Because we are limited to 65 total students. So we're going to have a qualifying process from the first 2 practices. The first 2 practice competitions will then lead you into qualifying for the 3rd competition. And again, the effort is to make this as fair as possible. We don't know what kind of information we're going to get back, so we've made a policy decision that any ties along the way or any prioritization that needs to be done will be broken based on your math club registration date and time. So we know based on registration information who registered first and second and third and so on. So in the event of an absolute tie between 2 or more people, it will be ordered based on who registered earliest. So register, and that's specifically the registration. It doesn't matter when you necessarily signed up in the spreadsheet. It's just about that. So once you register and you're in, you're locked in place for whatever that tiebreaker is, and then you can update the spreadsheet when you get a chance and do all that. So now let's dig into the details, how you're going to qualify. So qualifying for the third practice competition in Mathcounts and this is a bit of a process. So I'll explain the details and then we'll give an example. So the first 65 Math Club registrants who opt in to Mathcounts by October 1st, which is the deadline, they'll participate in the first practice competition on October 15th. So again, prioritize by registration date. So get in there soon if you want to be part of that first one. There is a slight advantage to being as part of the first one because if you don't qualify in the first one, there's a good possibility you can participate in the second one to qualify again. And the reason for that is because the top X finishers will qualify for the third competition based on how they perform in the first one. Now, for the time being, X is just a variable that we'll have to determine on November 1st. And the reason for that is because on November 1st, that's the deadline where we have to register who's going to participate in the second practice competition. So, at this point, we're going to have some number of students who want to be in Mathcounts but didn't get to participate in the first one because of the registration ordering. Those students they'll be registered for the second one for sure. And that will leave us with a bunch of space left over. So ideally, we'll have 65 minus X spots left over. And so what we will do is those 65 minus X people who didn't qualify from the first one will participate in the second one. So this basically means that if you finish high enough in the first competition that you that you qualify for the third one, you won't compete in the second one. But if you finished high enough in the first one but didn't qualify, you'll get a second chance in the second competition. This only leaves out the people who came in at the very bottom potentially of the first competition, and also only if we have more than 100 people participating. And I know this is complicated, and I will give a more concrete example in a second. And then that means that at this point we have X finishers from the first competition move on, and we'll have 65 minus X from the second competition will go to the third one. Again, very messy. All ties are going to be broken by Math Club registration order if necessary. And one other specific thing about this plan is that it is subject to change if we end up with significantly over 100 participants. We don't know yet what that's going to look like. I would imagine if we end up with significantly over 100, we'll probably break everybody up into 3 groups and then compete and then just take a certain top number from each competition. Again, we will figure that out as time goes on to make this as even and fair as possible. So let's talk about an example of what this process could look like. So let's say a bunch of people register for Math Club as hoped. The first 65 who registered to participate in Mathcounts will participate in the first one held in October. Then suppose by November 1st we have 100 total students who are registered and opted into Mathcounts. That would give us our X value of 35 because that means that there's 35 students who didn't get to compete yet. They get registered for the second one for sure. Then what happens is that X number 35 means that the top 35 from the first one have now qualified for the third competition. So they're going to be going to that third one for sure. They won't be registered for the second one, but the next 30 kids who happen to be all of the remaining students are registered for the second competition. So in this scenario, we had the top 35 people from the first competition, they move on, and in the second one, it's everyone who didn't qualify from the first and hasn't participated yet are in that second one. So again, you get an edge if you register early because if you want to be in those first 65 in case for some reason you don't qualify in that first round. And then we have the top 30 to fill out the remaining 65 spots from the second competition go to the third one. So that means we have 35 students from the first competition and 30 from the second one will go to the third one. And then the top 15 from that third competition become our official team for the fourth practice competition and the chapter round, since we have to declare before the fourth practice competition. I believe this is the fairest we can do given the circumstances. I don't think that anybody will not have a full opportunity to participate, especially given how many rounds we're kind of squeezing out of this here. And we're going to do the best we can to get as many people involved throughout the year. But I know Math Counts is a big deal to a lot of people, and I want everyone to understand and feel that we're trying to be as fair as we can. Now let's talk about AMC8. This one's a lot easier. This competition is a little different than the others because it has to be officially proxied or coordinated through a faculty member at the school. So it is managed through Redmond Middle School, but it's really done via the math club. And so the math club works with that faculty member, and we help them understand, like, when we have to place order forms or we have to get the tests. Usually there's a distribution process, but this year it's all going to be online, or at least we're going to use the art of problem solving option, which gives us some flexibility. We're going to pick a date. The range we're given is between the 10th and the 16th of November. We haven't decided on a date yet. There's some other factors we're going to figure out before we do that. But when the competition's held, it's going to be held online at your house. They've asked for parents to proctor the exam just to make sure that students are doing their best. And then beyond the AMC8, there's also the AMC 10A and 10B. Those are February 4th and 10th, respectively. At this time, we don't know what that's going to look like. I believe they do plan to have the online option. We will always opt for in person if we can do it, but it may be online. But just be aware that those are the dates. If you're planning anything, be around for that if you want to take those exams. Now, with the competition stuff gone, let's talk about volunteers. So this year we only need four. We need four lead volunteers, and then of course lots of people to help us with the proctoring, which is easy because we usually have literally 100 plus students, which means you know well over 100 parents that are available to help proctor rooms. But one of the things that becomes challenging is coordinating having proctors available. So we need to have a room lead for each room. And all this person's job is to make sure that there's an approved volunteer scheduled to proctor a session. So that just means, in the spreadsheet, like, we have the spots, it's already up there, people should be signing up. But if nobody's signed up the day before we have a session, we have to cancel it. So your job would just be a couple days before the session. If there's nobody in the spot, reach out, if you have a network, or send out a mail to the group and say we need a spot for the homework session next Monday from 2:45 to 4. And people are usually very responsive. It's just that it's hard for people to kind of keep track of what the needs are, because nobody's homepage is going to be our portal, unfortunately. Well, maybe we'll see. But in the meantime, if you are a parent who knows you're always going to be around on Mondays or Wednesdays or Fridays in that time slot, and you want to just attend the sessions because you're interested in the content or you want to see what your students are working on, you can sign up for the lead role and then just take all the spots yourself, and then just have somebody sub in if you can't be there. That would be perfect, frankly. That would be the best scenario. But otherwise, just making sure we have someone there, it would just help out a lot. And the other minor thing to mention is that anyone who's proctoring a math club meeting needs to be a Lake Washington School District approved volunteer. That's just an online form you can get at the lwsd.org site. There should be a link for volunteering. You just fill in the form, and then within a couple days they approve it. It's some kind of internal vetting process, and then you get 2 years coverage. So for 2 years you don't have to apply again. The other lead we need is we'll need a lead for competition registration. So this one is just responsible for maintaining the competition spreadsheet that we have. And that one thing is about making sure that the competition names and dates are up to date at the top row. The other thing is, just as we get towards the registration deadlines, sometimes we'll have like 8 kids that are all marked as yes. That meaning that they're looking for teams, but they don't have them, which means it's 2 teams of 4 that we'll end up making. And so usually what you would do is you'd recommend, hey, let's put this team together because these kids were together for this competition, or what have you. Or maybe you just send a mail out to all 8 parents and saying, can you guys form 2 teams and update the spreadsheet? But just having someone who can help us stay on top of that. It's really not a lot of work, but it just involves kind of helping make sure that the kids get a great experience by having a team together going to competition. And then also to register. So just basically copying from the spreadsheet into the form and sending off the registration through the online forms that are available. The payments, I'll handle the payment, and we'll take care of that. The math club pays for the competition, so you don't have to worry about that. But just the other stuff would really be great to get a parent lead. So next steps. The first one is, if you have any further questions, anything I didn't cover here today, please attend the live parent night. We'll cover the stuff there. And again, if you don't have any questions, there's nothing new you need to know. I don't know that anything new is going to come out at parent night, but if anything does, I will send it out. Otherwise, you can skip that. Next thing is, for sure, go join the PTSA and the Math Club as soon as possible. That's just the PTSA site /packet/Math Club Reg, or there's a link on our site. Our public site is rmsmath.sharplogic.com. This is a github.io site, and the problem is we just redirect it to SharpLogic because it's available from the Lake Washington laptops. So students can get to the sharplogic.com site, but they can't get to the github.io site. So if you want to contribute to the GitHub site, feel free to go out there and send me a pull request. I'll be more than happy to add more content. We've got some cool stuff up there that I'll show you in a second. If you're new to the site, that's also where we keep track of our homework schedule and our competition schedule and things like that. And if you want to sign up for any competitions for your students, and of course volunteering for Proctor, that's available on our internal share. You'll get access to that after you register for the site. After you register for the club, there is a manual process in the middle of it it's not a proactive notification thing. So we go in like every day or two and we update the registrations to add people to the SharePoint group, though, so you can access that and get to the Teams app in order to be able to participate in our video coaching sessions. So just be aware that's where that is. We'll have links everywhere, but that's something you won't be able to get to yet. And then finally, if you have any questions or if any feedback, or if you want to volunteer as one of the leads, please contact Math Club Chair at rmsptsa.org, and we will find a role for you. There's always plenty of stuff to do. And I did want to step out and check out the Math Club website. So this is rmsmath.sharplogic.com. And this is, our homepage has like the registration. It has our welcome video, this parent night, an internal share, and of course Bear Track's link for the newsletter. If you've never, well, actually, I'll start off with this. So we'll have our coaching sessions here. This is a explanation of our coaching sessions and some of the philosophies around competition. The schedule and homework is here. It'll look something like last year's schedule, where we have the date, what the homework is, and a link to the content if necessary. We also have our homework packet and the Mathcounts toolkit, very useful pieces of information. And then we have our competition schedule here, which has links to the sign-up sheet, and we will update this as time goes on to add in more dates when the other competitions become available, and you can get to the different sites and the different hosts through all that stuff. Also, an important thing is, if you want to coach, which I would recommend is you start, if you've never coached before, it's really fun to coach a parent team, or rather a student team, but being a parent, meaning that, like, your child may have 3 friends from school in the same grade, and you want to get together and put together your own team for competition. And what you can do is, in order to get there, you can get to a lot of practicing, online or at houses or wherever you have the availability. So what I've done is I've written up a few articles, and I've also provided this sample team practice. So when I run practices, I do 2-hour practices. This is a very rough outline of how we do it. Like, we'll start off with the College Bowl questions to warm up. We'll talk about a practice plan for the week and Q&A. Discuss a specific topic, if you have time for it. Maybe you focus on geometry one week, or algebra, or number theory, or what have you. We'll do some mental math. We'll go through multiple choice, team test, relays maybe, and some College Bowl for the remainder of time. Just, we provide material out here. All the past competitions, you can get links to their tests, so you can download and print them yourselves, and this kind of helps you get started. And also, in addition to that, some strategies for teams, like about how you can succeed in coaching a math team. So you can teach them about how to coordinate answers on a grid, and how to have a group test strategy, understanding details about, like, waiting to be acknowledged in College Bowl. It works a little different from Science Bowl versus Math College Bowl. The little things you can get, little edges about, not using units and things like that, and how to use time to your advantage. And we also have up here an article that's individual tips. And this is 10 tips, things like, even getting down to, like, some of the details about not being intimidated by long questions and drawing out geometry questions. And each of them references something from one of our past exams, our last year's benchmark exam, where we had a lot of examples of specific problems. And when we write these exams, we often write them in order to not just test the students, but also to use them later on as teaching tools to say, hey, this one was wrong because you didn't format the answer as it requested in the problem. And we do try to trick kids. We put like something in a question and we say, give us an answer that's in degrees as opposed to in radians, or leaving, estimating values to the nearest tenth, or rather not estimating, but rounding to the nearest tenth or the nearest hundredth, just to make sure people are following directions and know what they're doing as part of these rules. But again, lots of opportunity to volunteer there as your own students coach, or as a proctor, or as the lead for one of our rooms, or for our competition organization. And last thing I will lead you with is just a reminder about, also we have our RMS exams up here. And these are the exams that we had last year. These are really great in-depth competition questions that give you an idea of what to expect at really more the highest level of competition in middle school. These are very challenging questions that are a great way to gauge how much room there is to grow for any student in the competition. But leading it back, I'll step back over to my slideware and wish everybody a great year. And I hope to see folks in the live parent night if you have any questions. And hopefully at some point we'll see each other face to face this school year. In the meantime, have a great school year and good luck with math.